From George Floyd to the coronavirus outbreak to his own re-election bid, I sit down one-on-one with Charleston County Council's Vice Chairman Brantley Moody for this edition of Quintin's Close-Ups. And if you haven't already, subscribe to my YouTube channel and like Quintin's Close-Ups on Facebook. Brantley Moody, welcome back to Quintin's Close-Ups.
It's great to be with you, Quintin. Even these trying times, it's wonderful to be with friends.
And you talk about those trying times. Obviously, you are a father, you're a businessman, you're a Charleston County Council Vice Chairman. Define Brantley Moody these days.
Cautiously optimistic. Tragic times that happened in Minnesota, and inexcusable. And people have a right to be heard. People have a right to protest, to peacefully protest, to have their points of view considered. If I always try to look at the glass half full side. You know, when COVID started, my kids' school ended, but it got them home early. When this tragic event happened, maybe some good can come from it. Mr. Floyd's family in Minnesota has asked people to stop. This is not what he would want, to engage in peaceful dialogue. All the law enforcement chiefs got together yesterday and they've started a task force. So something good has got to come from this, and that would be a legacy, I think, that a tragic legacy that I hope we get to.
And obviously, you're the Vice Chairman of Charleston County Council. What's your message to those potential protesters here in Charleston County?
Be peaceful. Be peaceful. Mr. Pryor said it very well last night. We had a county council meeting.
Oh, yeah.
And Mr. Darby read a very long, impassioned speech, and he was spot on. But Mr. Pryor hit the head on the nail. Said, "Do it right. Do it as a community. But you cannot be breaking things. You cannot be busting things up. There's a forum to be heard, and let's get all the people at the table."
And you talk about COVID. With the COVID situation affecting the local economy so badly, how has it affected sales tax revenues within the county that needs money for transportation and other funds?
That's the crazy thing. We just don't know. The big thing we talked about last night was the accommodations tax.
Okay.
Those monies are virtually nothing right now because these beautiful hotels are not filled up. These restaurants are not selling what they should be selling. So trying to plan a budget and plan for the next year with the great unknown is very tough. Our budgeting folks at the county have done a great job. The general budget asks, the request from all the departments came in at $283 million. We got it down to $250, but we also built in a 2% buffer in case the A-tax and sales taxes do not bounce back like we think they will. So I think we've got a good plan ready to go forward, but a lot of unknowns.
How do you plan for the next budget?
Well, it's our budgeting folks that went through the recession in 2007 and 8. Even our budget director said last night we learned some tough lessons. So they've carried those lessons forward into helping forecast and project what's going to happen this next year. Projections, by their nature, by definition, are educated guesses. So that's all we can go off of.
How can the county fund all the planned projects with diminished revenues?
Well, it's prioritizing is what it is. So no raises, no vacancies that come open or not filled. It's a great balancing act. You have to delay maintenance that may be needed. You have to defer those type of things. So it's just really a balancing act.
What other choices can be made right now?
Well, we're about as skinny as we can get without impacting services. So the next, if it comes to having to cut services, that's going to be a tragic issue because we've got flooding, we've got things like that, we've got ditches that need to be cleaned. We cannot have those services cut. So that's why Chairman Summey, Mrs. Honeycutt, Mr. Sass, and others, Mr. Judge Rawl, we've all been about, if we're going to fund anything, we need to fund things to the extent we can, like the CVB, like the Chamber of Commerce, the Charleston Regional Development Alliance. We've got to get this economy kick-started, and those organizations are out in the forefront helping us do that.
Will the declines in the state gas tax and registration fees affect the infrastructure bank's ability to fund the 526 extension right now?
Not that I'm aware of. We have not heard any concerns from them about that.
Okay. What other concerns do you have with that right now?
With
526?
None.
Okay.
We continue. Environmental work continues on. We still plan to have our preferred alternative ready to unveil, I think in November is what they said. Wow. So that presses forward.
Now, that environmental, what did you just
Environmental impact study.
Impact study. When in that study right now that concerns you?
Nothing. We have not seen anything to date that would cause any concern, but because the old studies were so dated, they have to be updated. So you just have to make sure that, has the landscape changed, have any new species of birds, or has anything come in, those boxes just have to be checked.
Well, that'd be checked. Let me turn to this. Obviously, what will revenues look like now going forth?
Revenues, which revenues? I mean, there's hundreds of buckets of revenues.
Yeah, as you mentioned.
Well, we covered some of that already.
Right.
I mean, it's unknown right now. Things that are property taxes, taxes on cars and boats and homes and things like that. Those things are pretty fixed. So that's something to build a budget off of, because those numbers we know. The sales tax, the A tax, those are the more unknowns.
That environmental impact study, what's updated right now? Do you know of?
I have not reviewed the latest or where they are today yet.
Okay. And what should we expect in November?
Well, there were 39 alternatives. The alternatives could be 1 foot away from each other, but there were 39 alternatives, and when the project was stopped. And my guess is that preferred alternative that was identified last time, that Parkway type thing, is probably going to be the one that comes forward again. I suspect. I don't know, but we'll see.
Let me turn to your re-election.
Yeah.
Obviously, I had Sherry Irwin on Quinton's Close-Ups a week ago. Why Brantley Moody? Why his second term?
Well, it's easy. I made some promises in 2016, and I've delivered. I watched your interview with my opponent. I'm not entirely sure why she's running for county council. I don't know that she knows what county council does. Most of her beefs or her theories have to do with city council, so maybe she should run for city council. But in 16, I promised West Ashley that we were not getting the attention we needed. The infrastructure was bad in West Ashley. Our neighborhood roads were falling apart. 526 was stalled. We were having drainage issues. I promised to address those things, and I've done that.
Brantley Moody, thank you so much for your time. And again, welcome back to Quinton's Close-Ups.
Thank you, Quentin. That's great. I like this outdoor environment too. Just like it's not hot yet.
Yes, thank God.
Good to be with you.
Likewise.